There's a friend, I told you it's a long story, but you asked it. There was someone my age, maybe 1 year older, when I was in high school, who died, who was the son of a very close family friend of my parents. We might have played together as very small children, but I didn't know him as a teenager, okay? He died of brain cancer. Okay, very tragic. You're 17 years old and you die of brain cancer, ready to go off to college and all the rest. They bust in school kids from the school, okay? And they unloaded and they filled this chapel. And there's a closed casket because it was brain cancer. So, and there's a picture of him on the casket. And I'm watching this, and his classmates are like holding each other as they walk up the aisle, and there's the organ playing. No, it's not a New Orleans song where you sort of celebrate the life of the person who just died. It was the kind of organ music where you want to be sad that the person died. And I'm watching this. And then I start getting emotional. And like a tear shows up in my eye. And I said, wait a minute. I don't know this kid. I don't even remember him. I'd be crying because the organ is making me cry. I'd be crying because I'm seeing other people who did know him cry. And I did a fast calculation. How many people are dying in this hour in the city or in the country or in the world? Am I crying for them who I equally don't know? I rationalized an emotional state out of this pain and misery. And I said, if I'm not tearing for everybody else who dies who I don't know, I should not be tearing for this person. And so I sucked the tears back up and just observed it anthropologically that there's a funeral going on right in front of me. That was an expression of control over my emotions. That is basically how I lived for the first 19 years of my life.
What was the cost?
The cost? No cost. Why would there be a cost? Why should there be a cost to not having forced emotions by other, no, there's, what cost? I'm a geek kid, okay? And emotions are something that interfere with rational thought.
But this changed.
So what I could say to you is, you're emotional. What's the cost for not being rational? Okay? I could totally put the question back on you. What's the cost? You slammed a door. You hung up the phone back when we had phones to hung up. You slammed it down. You cried when you didn't even know the person. Okay? That's your cost. So maybe we're simply different people. I'm not saying they shouldn't have cried. They knew him. Of course they're going to cry. I didn't. Organist stopped making me cry. And so I didn't. Okay? So, how did that change? My freshman year of college, it all changed. It all changed. First semester, I take a class in art and design. They play music and they say, draw the music. And it's like, I don't know what you're talking about. What do you mean? Feel the music and draw how it makes you feel. I say, it's just music I'm listening to. I'm like, it's like two ships passing in the night. I don't know what the hell this person's talking about. I don't know what he means. I don't know, should I still stay in this class? Is it a waste of time? What's going on here? And he says, okay, here's what you do. Draw the energy in the music. And excuse me, I'm a physicist, right? Energy equals MC squared. There's kinetic energy, there's mechanical energy, there's chemical energy. Energy is not what you draw out of music. Okay? Okay. So I said, all right, I don't know what he's saying, but I'll try something. And then he criticizes it. Okay, so I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Why am I in this class? Should I drop the class? Okay, then they roll in the pumpkins. They say, draw the pumpkins. Okay, now I can do this. It's a task. There's a pumpkin in front of me. I'm going to draw it. So I draw pumpkins. And it takes me a few tries to get the hang of it. But I'm one of the world's best pumpkin drawers to this day because of that. We spent weeks drawing pumpkins. And they're all sort of leaning on each other. And they have these sort of seams in them. And not all of them have the same size handle, the neck that comes out. And some have bruises. And there's like 30 of them up in the front of them. So I'm drawing them. I said, okay, is this all we're going to do with this? Okay. After pumpkins became the entire meaning of my life for 2 or 3 weeks, we returned to the studio. The pumpkins are still there. And then they said, now draw the space between the pumpkins. And I just snapped. It was like, wait a minute, you're telling me that I give objective meaning to these things that we call pumpkins, and now these pumpkins are just the boundaries to something else that I'm giving meaning to, and that's the space between the pumpkins. And it was like, whoa. So I started drawing the space between the pumpkins. And the pumpkins were now the edges of things, not the object of what I'm drawing. And my brain turned inside out. And I started looking around. I say, are these lights or is it a shadow that makes the shape? Am I in a space? Is the space what's real? Or is it the boundary of the space? If the boundary weren't there, would I still be in this space? I'd still be breathing this air, but we wouldn't call it a space because that boundary isn't there. So everything looked different after then. Everything. And from that moment onward, I could talk to artists with abstract vocabulary. How does this painting feel? What does it do for you? What are your emotions? It opened up a box, an emotional state that was previously non-communicative with the rest of my mind. It was kept there. I could act. It's not that I didn't know how to cry. It's just that the crying had nothing to do with anything else that was objectively real. So what it did, it found the place where it pried it open. And there was spillage. There was cross spillage. So I can tell you this now. There's no way this sentence could have come out of my head. On my iPhone, I have skin. It's not a casing. It's just what's called a skin. And it is a section of Van Gogh's Starry Night. The actual name of the painting is The Starry Night. Okay? And it's got these swirly, beautiful colors. And all right, it's my favorite painting. Why? Because it's certainly not what he saw. The sky has never looked this way. But it's definitely what he felt. And for me, an artist's task, their duty in this world, not to prescribe this, but for me, their duty is to show me the world as I do not see it. Take me someplace. Give me a perspective that will broaden my interpretation of reality. That is a thought, an idea, a sentence that could have never come out of my mouth until that moment where I drew the space between the pumpkins. And that access to abstract thinking, to now in the early days, I'd watch a Broadway musical and two people walk up to each other speaking, a song is about to happen, and then they'd sing about their love for each other. I say, why don't you just cut the song, just say you love each other, move on to the next scene. That's how I felt as a child. After college, after that course, I see the two people walk up to each other and they're speaking their emotions, and I'm saying, you know, when you sing your emotions, it reaches a deeper part, not only within yourself, but within the listeners, because there's more of your emotion expressed when you sing. And so now I long for the song in a Broadway musical, the simplicity of expressed emotion. So I don't want to quite say I'm the opposite of what I was when I sucked back the tears in that funeral. But I'm going to say that, dare I suggest, a well-developed access to both your emotions and your rational self, with some control over the two. You don't want rampant contamination, but just be able to close the door every now and then between the two and then open it. I think can serve us greatly as a civilization if I were to offer perspective and advice. There are times where you need your rational self. Otherwise, you will not make a decision that's in the best interest of your health, your wealth, or your security. But don't let that hide what emotions you might have. Because the world's greatest art, as far as I can tell, issues forth from rampant emotion that we're capable of as human beings.